We'll go ahead and get started. I'm TJ. I'm the CTO here at ByteChek. I started back in February. Over the last 6 or so months, and really over the last 4 months, we've really set out to kind of redefine the platform. And today is our time that we want to kind of unveil it and then hopefully take some questions as well as any feedback that people might have. Up on the screen that you see right now, you should see our roadmap. This is what we've been working on right now and hoping to hit fall, and I'm happy to report that we will. We really wanted to focus in on our core differentiators in the space. And so really focusing in on that persona-based UX, speed and convenience, providing a historical view, as well as introducing some new things like the audit packet, and bring SSO and then define the AWS integration so that there weren't so many additional things that you may need to get that set up. What's on the horizon is really building out more of those integrations. And so by the end of Q1 23, we hope to have Azure and GCP up to par with the AWS that you'll see in a few minutes, as well as introducing some more SaaS integrations based off of your all's feedback. We'll also bring in a true audit package around ISO 27001 and a much cleaner and easier to use assessment where we'll use your controls and some of your continuous monitoring to inform those assessments, as well as establishing strategic partnerships for some of those conveniences for running your compliance program. Going beyond, really some of the things that we want to do is we want to grow with you, our customers. We want to be able to export and import custom controls, although we do have the ability to add controls in V2 that you'll see in a little bit. Really give you that system-wide audit history of the platform, because as a compliance company, we know how important that audit history is. And then really unlocking some of the insights of what your compliance program looks like from year to year, as well as the compliance, the continuous compliance and how that's trending. We're also going to open up into additional frameworks, PCI, HIPAA. We have a cool package that we're putting together, and really adding on to those assessments as informed from your feedback. And then finally, we hope to round out next year with our trends and recommendations, and that'll make a little bit more sense when you see the demo, and then really helping to provide more leadership in the security and compliance community, and providing you all with proactive insights around how you can grow your compliance position with the growth of your company. So with that, if there's no questions on that, I will go ahead and jump right into the demo. Sure, Micah. The common control framework that you're referring to, I would need to understand a little bit more about what you're talking about, because the consolidated controls that we surface to the user actually do cover more than one framework. And so they would be considered a high watermark in most cases. If you meet all of the controls, you would actually be quite far along in multiple frameworks. Awesome. So I will jump right in. The first thing you'll notice when you see the new version of the platform is that the user experience has been totally redone. And that is thanks to our excellent UI UX designer, Kimberly. She has worked a tremendous amount to gather feedback. In fact, some of you all, the customers, have been gracious enough to do user usability tests with her. And I hope that shows how much we are dedicated to that user experience. We've had that feedback in numerous looking back type meetings with you all, and we really took it to heart. And so what you'll see when you first enter the platform will actually be over on this screen. It's a welcome screen. A lot of the times we want to add users to the platform, but those users might not know what the platform is. And so we really want to welcome the user. And so we want to welcome them to the ByteChek platform, really explain what the process is, as well as kind of explain what the importance of SOC 2 is, and then kind of guide the user into the application. So in this case, this is a people team user. I'll come back to it to show some of the customization that we do based off of what type of group is logged into the platform. But you can see that there's quite a difference in the amount of information and the amount of menu items that are surfaced to those groups. So one of the first things that you would do as an administrator or a security compliance professional that was running a SOC 2 audit or running the ByteChek platform is the user management. I actually want to stop there before I go into the add new user. We actually support SSO. So here's an example of us using Okta to log in. And any identity provider that has SAML is an identity provider that we can support. This is just a demo, so it's not going to load anything. But we do support that SSO. Additionally, if you don't want to use SSO, you can add new users in a real streamlined fashion. Just put in their email, first name, last name, and then you get to select the groups that they're associated to. Those groups, we realize that in some companies that when you're starting out, you may wear multiple hats. And so you can actually assign multiple groups to those users, and that will actually encompass the aggregate of those groups. And it'll make a little bit more sense as we go on. If you want to know a little bit about what those different groups are, we have them outlined and what it does scope things down to. But I'm going to give you a firsthand look at some of that as we go through. After you're done with the user management, the first integration that we're going to come out of the gate with is AWS. We've revamped how you integrate the AWS. It's a much simpler process. We actually just provide you a YAML, and that YAML, which is just a CloudFormation script, and you would just run that CloudFormation script. And so if you wanted to know what we were setting up, what permissions we have, it's all here because we have to be explicit in the YAML of what permissions, what roles we're accessing, what things we're setting up. So we're very transparent in what we're doing. And then they simply just ask for three things: the company ID, a friendly name, and the regions that you want to scan. The company ID is conveniently located right above the download link, so it's pretty simple to do. And the reason that we did it by account base and by region base is to give you the flexibility to only include accounts that matter to your SOC report or your compliance or ongoing compliance. And so you can scope that down into regions even. US East 1 is the one exception because there are some things in AWS that are only in US East 1. We still scan a particular set of controls in US East 1 regardless if you specify it or not. But you can also just leave it blank and we'll scan every region if you so choose. But highly suggest scoping it to the region so that you get the tightest SOC 2 report that you can get. Additionally, we go ahead and run those checks every 24 hours. And so this is a automated check result view that we surface right here on the integrations page. You'll be very familiar with our BC19 and the BC controls. However, we wanted to make this a little bit more useful for the user. And so you can actually dig into each one of these and we get really explicit on what we checked. And so in this case, we have a failing status. The password expiration is not set. And if you expand that out, we go ahead and give you what the description is, what the remediation is, what the risk is, because maybe you want to accept that risk. And you can't really do that without knowing what the risk is, as well as the documentation on how to fix it. And so a really simple and easy way to go through and look through your different results of those integrations. Additionally, you might notice that there's multiple checks going into each control ID. As we start to build out these integrations, which we're targeting again from the roadmap around the end of Q1, we can flow every check into the controls on a multiple basis. And so in this case, we have the 7 different checks occurring, all flowing to BC20. So you get the full picture, and it's not just a one check for one control type thing. And so you can imagine when we start to add Azure and we start to add GCP and other things, those checks can actually inform multiple controls. And so we really want you to get that full picture within the control of how you're doing against that different control statement. If you did pass, we're not going to try and hide what we checked. We still want you to know what we checked. So we'll go ahead and provide what resource we checked, as well as that same experience of the description, remediation, risk, and documentation. We also provide you with that severity and status as well. Now on to the meat and potatoes. So we're always keeping that continuous monitoring state for you. That's just, again, based off of this automated check result that's running every 24 hours. And that's just basically your percentage of the checks versus how many checks pass versus the total number of checks on a day-to-day basis. So you get a good percentage look at how you're doing on a day-to-day basis. Future plans will start to chart that out and give you a more robust reporting view. But for now, we feel like that is enough to kind of get rocking and rolling with this new platform. Additionally, you'll notice that we also included the policies. You'll notice that we changed out the policies, and we've really restricted them down to the 8 that we care about most. Additional things that will come along is add your own policy as we build out the feature a little bit more, as well as surfacing versions of the policies. But we asked our head of IT and ops, Joe Parker, and our director of compliance, Tara, to really sit down and think through what does a good template look like for a starting out policy. And so you'll notice that these policies are much easier to use and much easier to expand upon. We also go ahead and take the liberty of populating in your company and getting these ready for you. So if they meet the bill and you're meeting these policies, you're more than welcome to just save them, and I'll come back to it for adding it to the audit if you so choose. And so we actually surfaced around 8 of those: the information security policy, BCDR, data classification, incident response, so on and so forth. So really scoped down policies, as well as giving you what the SOC criteria is that they cover up on top, and what ByteChek control IDs they actually help to inform as well. One of the pieces of feedback that we've received is that when we start an audit, a lot of times you don't know when you've actually started, and so we really wanted to put that power back into the customer's hands. And so the security compliance professional really should be the one that's starting the audit, and this is really cool. And I'll call out some specifics around this that will actually drive the rest of the system. And so if we're going to go ahead and target, maybe we're targeting our SOC 2 Type 2, we can go ahead and pick our date range. Maybe we're going from September of this year out to February of next year. You go ahead and put in your signer name, and that's the person that would sign the report. And then this is the cool part. You get to pick which trust service categories that you're going to target with this SOC 2 Type 2 report, and everything within the system that populates from this point forward for this stepwise piece will actually be scoped to that. And so that means that your evidence gathering will be scoped to exactly what trust service category controls are specific for that, as well as filling in your system description and your SOC 2 section 4. And so we'll pick availability and security for this one and go ahead and start that audit. Another cool thing that happens when you start an audit is we create what is called an audit package. This audit package is collecting all of the information that you fill out within this stepwise uh, audit package the whole way through. And we keep that history for you, and it will show up in a history view that you can view your histories of your audits back 7 years. And so that gives you the ability to go ahead and look at what did I answer for this question, or what evidence did I provide for this control back then. We really find that is something that we've all run into. I know I have. Going through a SOC 2 Type 2, we get to the next year and we're like, what the heck did we put for this control? Well, now no more. You can actually just go back right to that control in a historical view and see exactly what you put with that report. And so we associate the report to a kind of audit package. We really like to think of it a lot like TurboTax. We fill out our taxes, we provide our receipts, and then we file a nice archive of all the information that we provided for that taxes. It should be the same way for an audit. We should be able to surface that to you and give you a nice archive of what you produced during your audit. The self-assessment, we went through and we recategorized a lot of these questions to fit into business operations. So you'll see people operations, security operations, business continuity, and some of those things that the business talks about rather than very SOC 2 verbaged questions and groupings. And this is really strategic in the fact that if I were to come over here to my people team user, you can add a people operations user and know that you're not going to overwhelm them with a bunch of unneeded information. And so this only surfaces the people operation questions to them. And so they can quickly go through and answer their questions that they need to answer to help get your self-assessment underway. The percentage is also specific to the user. So in this case, you see here that 14% is done for the people team person. If I come over here, it's going to auto update, and we're 3% of the way through the entirety of the self-assessment. It also gives us the opportunity to review what answer was given. So we can come back here and say, oh, well, actually, I think that's a yes. And then we can go through and fill out the rest of those questions if we so need, or we can communicate back to the people operations and say, oh, I think we actually need that. And so it actually will, in real time, communicate back and forth for those folks so that everything is all aligned and everybody can collaborate within the tool, but also not be overwhelmed. Additionally, once you're done with that step, you can go ahead and complete it. I have a demo. This is a demo button. You don't get the complete step. You can't just skip. But it would actually ask you after all the questions and you reach 100% if you're ready to submit that to the auditor. So we don't actually surface those questions or your answers until you're ready. Because we don't feel that it's a fair representation of you as a customer to the auditor until the security compliance professional has a chance to review it. And so they have that button to kind of push it through. And I can show it a little bit more on these next steps. The next step would be that system description. So we went ahead and, again, put it into a nice collaborative format where we can do editing and formatting and all that. But the real cool thing is we fill out a majority of it for you. So we go ahead and put in your company name. A lot of the boilerplate is built off the policies. And then we actually scope down all of the tables based off of what you chose from the trust service categories. So in our case, it's only showing security and availability. If we would have picked all five, they would have been all there. We just don't feel that it's necessary for you to have to fill that out again when you've already filled it out once. There are a few things that you'll want to fill out. On the horizon, we'll be able to pull these from some of the more strategic self-assessment questions we have planned for adding. But for now, you would have to add whatever other production tools that you might have or applications that you might have. Again, it doesn't go to the auditor until you hit add to audit. And just to show what that looks like. On our auditor side, you can see that they have a good, clear picture of where you're at. so they can see who the report signer is, what trust service categories you've chosen, what dates you've picked, what steps you're working on, and what steps you've completed. And then additionally, like I said, they don't get to see these things until you actually add it to the audit. And so you can actually work quite collaboratively within your company with confidence, knowing that the auditor isn't seeing things that they shouldn't see. And so maybe we actually, collaborate back and forth on this. We hit save a few times, and we finally get it to the point where we're ready. We simply add it to the audit, and then that will send it over here. And now they can see it. And so they're able to review this section 3. If you notice, we don't take away the add to audit. There might be changes that they ask you for. If there are changes, you guys can, again, work in your own area and save it and collaborate on whatever they said, and not until you add that next version to the audit will it appear to the auditor. It was really important to us to provide that safe space for the customer to work through the audit, where they didn't feel like the auditor's eyes were, right there while you're working through and trying to figure out how you want to frame your system. And that applies to everything within there. So when the auditor is ready, they just do accept system description. They'll add that into your report, and it will complete the step, and you'll be done. The next piece is the evidence gathering. This is something that we've put a ton of effort into. We really enjoy it. You'll still have that great ability to scope down to whatever controls you want. We've also added the ability to add multiple people, because sometimes a control is managed by more than one person. You can actually search for the people. And so this is pulling this one up because I'm included in it. And then we also went through and let you know what the different statuses are, as well as what is needed to kind of advance that control. One of our big things was transparency. We really want to be transparent with what is going on. And so I'm going to actually scroll down and pick one of the ones with the ByteChek engine attached to it. And so BC19 is privilege access. And so in this case, we actually do have some data. It will go ahead and pull whatever continuous monitoring data that you have for that control across into the card. It will let you know what the date range was of the evidence, because sometimes you don't have evidence for certain days, or you might have started later. And then you can also view what your latest data looked like. And in this case, we were looking for custom policies that allowed full administration access, and we didn't have any, so we passed. And so we can actually go ahead and use that engine data for our control evidence. And then that will switch over, but we don't want to restrict the user. Maybe they want to add some more to really beef up their SOC 2. And so they can actually go ahead and add an additional piece of evidence that you can view right within the platform. One of the other cool things about the application is that the controls are scoped based off of the persona. And so in this case, we can see that the people team user only sees BC1, 2, 3, 6, and so forth. While if we came over here, there's actually quite a few more controls that are being done during the SOC 2 audit. And so this, again, really helps the security compliance professional scope down things for people that are involved in the audit. Because we all know that an audit takes way more than just one compliance professional. It takes the entire company to make it successful. And so we want to make that as easy as possible. Additionally, one of the other cool things about it is that if they did not have the control, so maybe they were scoped to a people team, and so BC4 is not on the people team users list, right? Well, I can go ahead and add them, because maybe I need their expertise, or maybe there is something there that they can help with, and it will now in real time show up on their dashboard, and they can go ahead and address that control. Additionally, we added an additional step for this. So you'll notice on the people team that we have a submit to review button as well. And so maybe I'm going to go ahead and attach a text file here. And I'm going to say, I'm ready for review. If I come back over here to the administrator, the administrator has, I'm sorry, the administrator actually has the ability to either submit it to the auditor or request changes. And so this is one of those ones where we really wanted to prevent like the bad screenshot or the mismarked screenshot from going all the way to the auditor. And so we're really giving the compliance professional the control to say, oh, hey, you know what? That's not the right screenshot. And it'll go ahead and push it back into review for needing evidence for the people team. And so then they can go ahead and add whatever other piece of evidence, and maybe they need to delete this one. And now they're ready for their review. And then we can go ahead and submit that to the auditor. You can also view that evidence right here and right in the view. And then from the auditor side, this is really cool. They only see those controls as soon as you submit them. And so they don't get overwhelmed with trying to figure out which controls they're supposed to be doing, as well as you can know in confidence that you're only sending the controls that are ready for them to review to be reviewed. Additionally, we've given the auditors the ability to tell you when something is in review from their perspective. And so if we actually come back over here, we can see what controls are being reviewed by the CPA right there. From the CPA's perspective, they have quite a few different options. But let's say that this was still not enough. And so they say we need more info. And so you'll get it back into an evidence needed state to go ahead and provide whatever evidence that you might need. Additionally, if they did get through all of that and they wanted to put it into what we call a done state, there's 3 states. There's approved, failed, and not tested. Not tested means it's just simply not going to be a part of your SOC 2. It's not something that applies. But most cases it's going to be approved because they're going to work with you to make sure that you approved, and in real time we'll update over here so that you know exactly where you're at from each control's perspective. One of the next cool things, aside from the evidence gathering, is the SOC 2 Section 4. And so once that evidence gathering is complete, we recommend that is when you actually do the SOC 2 Section 4. Oh, I killed it. I actually completed the step, but it's okay. We can still see it. This is actually automatically generated based off of your controls. And so it actually scopes down your trust service criteria up top based off of what trust service categories you pick, as well as it generates this based off of your actual controls. And so if we were to go in and change our control statement, it would go ahead and pull that into your Section 4 for you. So you don't have to do any double work. Additionally, we also have the ability to add controls. And so maybe we don't have a control that meets, a control that you're running within your organization. It's as simple as adding that control and then providing evidence for the auditor. Once that's all done, the auditor side will basically prepare your report, and then they will go ahead and send you a link to collaborate on that report right through this step. And then you would go ahead and accept that. Once you're done collaborating on that, it goes into a final report state. And then it will surface the history, and you can go through and look through the history or download your report just as you would at any other time. There's also quite a few little nooks and crannies around. We surface our help information right there in the UI. and make it really easy if you need help navigating some of the UX. Additionally, we are also providing links into our RSS feed coming from our blog posts. And you can actually kind of stay up to date on, the art of a risk assessment, which was written by Joe and Tara around risk assessments and how to accomplish those. I hope that you enjoyed the demo. I'm going to go ahead and switch into a question and answer and feedback mode, and hope that people will share their thoughts as well as feedback to help guide us as we move on to the next year. Looks like Mullane had a question. Yep, the changes, the only time you can't make changes to the section 3 is once the auditor has accepted it, then we stop all editing. So we're actually going to do a beta of it at the end of September. So coming up, and more than willing to talk through that with you and get you all set up on that. We're always looking for feedback. So if you're interested in it, we're more than happy to sit down with you, work with you, and find out if there's any concerns. If not, we'd be happy to roll you up on it over these next weeks. Any other questions? This is going to be really easy if yes. So when I say ISO 27001, I mean ISO 27001. And so it would follow this, a very similar pattern to this, where we would go ahead and start an audit. We would select ISO 27001, and it would surface the pertinent controls as well. One of the nice things about the controls, the way that they're built out, is that they do cross multiple frameworks. And we already have the foundation in place to kind of show that. And I'll get back to that to kind of show exactly where I'm talking about. GDPR, we should have a discussion about, because that one has, I think there's more to GDPR than just the controls. But the PCI is definitely on the roadmap, and that is more towards the end of Q3 of next year. And then just so you see the common controls and frameworks, we have SOC 2 in there right now, but we're actively mapping all of the controls to other frameworks. Well, if there's no other questions, I really appreciate everybody coming out today. Really, please share your feedback. This new platform is not simply ours, it's all of yours as well. I hope that you see that this was built with all of your feedback, and we need to have that feedback to continue to make these great improvements on our platform. And so thank you for helping us be informed while we built out this new platform.